Now we are in the 10th week of our ITE 1712 web designing course. In this week, we will be learning JavaScript iterative controls. As usual, we will be following the same color coding pattern we have been following from the beginning of this course. After this week's learning, you will be able to apply iterative loop structures in JavaScript programs with arrays in both internal and external formats. After this lesson, you will know what are arrays and what are for and for in loops. What are the while loops and also what are these do while loops and how we can make use of these structures available in JavaScript to do certain tasks that we want to do. Let's imagine a scenario where we want to keep some names of people in variables. So what we can do is, okay, var name equals Saman. Var name equals Amar. Var name equals Sita. Right. Now let's say we want these names in our program. But whenever we use the same variable, the previous name gets deleted and the new name assigns to the variable. Let's check that out. Let's log the name here and here and also here. Let's try it. And then let's inspect. Right. As you can see, in the first console log, we see Saman. The second console log, we see Amar. In the third console log, we see Sita. So that's perfectly okay. But what if we want to hold all three names? Then we will have to use three variables. So let's rename this to name 1, name 2, and name 3. Still, name 1 will hold only Saman, name 2 will hold only Amar, and name 3 will hold only Sita. But at the end of the program, we can console log name 1, name 2, name 3. We can access all three names now. Let's save it and refresh it. Right. Now, after the three console logs, we can see all three names here. But let's say we want to hold 1,000 names in our program. We want to read a log file and store 1,000 names. Are we going to create 1,000 variables to hold 1,000 names? How about 100,000? How about 1,000,000? It is not practical to create a different variable name for each variable that we want to hold. In that case, we can use arrays. The special property of array is that we can use the same variable name but can hold many values. It is a data structure provided by JavaScript. So how can we hold these three names in our array? It's very easy. What we have to do is create an array like this. In this array, we can create three names, 3O, any number of names that we want. Let's put the same name, Sama. Then put a comma, Amar, comma, and then Sita. Right. Now here we will output the only one variable name, that is, let's rename it as names. Okay, so let's log names variable. Right, now we can see the console log shows the array in a very structured way. Okay, starting from the index 0, Saman, Amar, Sita, and length is 3. We can even add more names. Now it has 4 names. Now this is a very convenient way to hold many names in a single variable. When we specify these arrays, it's okay to specify each element in a new line. It is supported in JavaScript. Something like this. Even we can format the code. Save it. It works. Okay. One other way of creating arrays is var. Let's say new names equals new array. And then this creates an array object. And then we can input the elements for this array. Right? Now we have this new names array. Let's copy it and console it out. Let's put it in the console log. Let's delete this previous variable. Right. Again, it has created an array with 3 names, Sunil, Shant, and Edward. Okay, now we have this previous array that we had. Saman, Amara, Sita, and Kumara. All are there in this array. For this example, I will create a paragraph. With the ID array demo. And let me increase this font style. Okay. And let's use document get element by ID. Okay, what do you think? If I put the names variable here, what will happen? I think you should remember in our previous week, we did something similar. We tried to see the array by assigning this array into this inner HTML. Now, what do you think? I think you remember even last week, we did something similar. We actually assigned an array into this inner HTML and experienced what would be the outcome. To recall that, remember the toString method that we talked about. Let's save this and refresh our page. Right, now we have Saman, Amar, Sita, and Kumar all showing with separated by commas. I think now you remember what happened, right? Last week. Okay, now let's imagine that we want to access each of these names inside this array. What if we want to access the first element? Or what if we want to access the second element? And so on. We can accomplish that by using the index of the array. Now, for example, in an array, the first element can be referred by name 0. Let's try that out. Right. What if we want to access the second element? By using names 1, we can do that. Right. Similarly, we can access any element that we want. So what if we want to change something inside this array? Okay. Now in this example, if we run the page again, we can see Amara. Amara is in the first index, right? So let's change that index. Names 1 equals Kapil. Right. In this fashion, we can access all the elements inside the array and manipulate the values. Okay, now we have this array. So what if we want to access each of these elements in the array programmatically? So what is a for loop? Now this is the structure of a for loop. As you can see, the for loop in this example has a for keyword here and some 2 brackets and some declarations, conditions, and increments. And also it has some actions. So how does this work? Now here, in order for this to work, we need a variable that we want to keep track of the loop. The first step of this loop is declaration and initiation of I. Now it is done here. So this is how a for loop will operate. In order for this to work, we need a variable. In this case, we will name it as I. Usually in programming, we put I for iterators. The variable I is used as an iterator in this case to count the number of loops. Right? So the first step is to declaration of I and initiating it to a certain value. In this case, we have initiated into 0. Right? The second step is to check whether this condition is satisfied. Now, because I is 0, this condition satisfied. Then, as the third step, this code segment gets executed. In this case, it is showing some text in the web browser's console. So in this case, it will put a text in the log as I is, now in this case, I is 0, right? So I is 0. And then as the fourth step, it will go back to this section and do the operation we have mentioned here. In this case, it is add 1 to I. I plus plus means increment I by 1. So earlier I was 0. After this operation, the I is 1. So it comes back here as the fifth step and again checks. Okay, now I is 1, still less than 10. Comes here, prints this I is 1 here, goes back here, increments, and again comes here. Now I is 2, likewise it goes up to I is 9. Even when I is 9, this satisfied, right? So it will come to this section and it will write I is 9. So what happens when I is 10? Okay, now after I is 9 gets written in the console log, it will go back to this section and increment I by 1. So now I is 10. Now again it will go to this section to check whether I is less than 10. Now in this case, it is false because 10 is not less than 10. So what will happen is this will break the loop and go out of the loop here. So any other code specified after this for loop gets executed after executing this code 10 times. So this is how a for loop works. Let's see it in action. Okay, now I have this file forloop.html. I'm opening it with our latest text editor, Sublime. Okay, now here we have the basic structure and also we have that example we saw before. We have a for loop with variable I initiated with 0 and with the condition where I less than 10 and incrementing I here. And then we have this console log section where we write a log into the browser's console section. I is plus I. That means concatenates this I's value with this string. So let's open the file. It shows nothing. Let's open the console. What we can do is we right click and go to inspect section. And here we see the console. Actually, this console is the place where I used to debug the code. So we can get some input from the code, the program, without showing it to the public user. Anybody here who's not opened this console will not see anything. But if you open this console, we can see. Let's refresh it again. Okay, now it shows I is 0, I is 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. It goes up to 9, but I is 10 is not here. I know you know the reason, because when I is 10, it goes out of this loop. Let's open this for loop HTML file. Right. Now we have the same array, right? Saman, Amara, Sita, and Kumar are there. Let's create a for loop. For I equals 0. Remember now, the index of the array starts from 0. So it is suitable for I to start from 0. And then I less than 4. I plus plus. For this example, let's create some more variables. Var I and text and ALN. ALN will store arrays length and also names. Once we define the variables, once we declare the variables, we can use them in our program. Okay, now we have declared names, so we can use names equals this array. Then we have declared I, so we can use it here. So what is this text? Before that, what is this ALN? ln is the length of the array. So ln is the names dot length. In JavaScript, we can get the length of the array by using dot length attribute. So names dot length will return 4, and we can replace this 4 by array length. Now, what we want to do here is showing the names concatenated with some other text inside this paragraph as a unordered list. How do we do that? First, we will initiate the text variable with an unordered list. After the iteration also, we want to close the unordered list. So inside the loop, we want to add list items representing each of these names. To do that, we will concatenate. Now here we have to use the concatenate symbol, otherwise it will overwrite all the text. So here it's okay because no text has been assigned before, so this is okay. And inside here also we have to use plus or equals. First we concatenate, we put the string line list item, concatenate with person concatenated names I plus some other text is in the array. Concatenated with closing list item. Right. So once this is over, we will update this array demo paragraph. Document get element by ID array demo inner HTML equals text. Let's save it and try it out. Now let's open this file and see what is the output. We go here, we open for loop. Right. Now you can see person Saman is in the array, person Amar is in the array, person Sita is in the array, and also person Kumar is in the array. So did you notice the problem here? Because by mistake, we did not close the list item here. Because we did not close the list item tag, the browser created another list item with empty contents. Now it should be fine. Let's go here. Right, now we have 4 list items with our array elements. Right. So I believe now you have a good understanding what is a for loop and how we can make use of it. How we can iterate through an array. How we can get the contents of the array. Now let's take a look at one of the other structures that we can use for controlling loops, which is while loop. I'm opening this one here. It also has the same structure that we have been using, and we have a text here. We have a variable called text, and at the end of the program, we assign that text into this while demo paragraph, right? So in a while loop, first we have to put the keyword while, and we should put parentheses and place our condition inside this brackets, this parenthesis. Now in this case, let's put I less than 10. Now do we have I specified? Declare? No. Let's declare it and initiate the I with number 5. While I is less than 10, this loop will go on. Inside the while loop, we will update the text. I is now I. And also we will concatenate a break HTML tag there. But if you notice, I is always 5 and this will never end because always 5 is less than 10, and if we don't increment the I, this will be an infinite loop where browser will keep adding text one by one after another with the same I value 5. In order to terminate this while loop, we need to put a condition. We need to put an increment to the I. So let's put I equals I plus 1. In short, we can say I plus plus. The short notation is also working in JavaScript. Okay, now let's save the file and see. Right. I is now 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. If you see here, what is this undefined? That is an important thing that we need to remember. When we have this plus or plus equals notation, the existing value of the text gets added with the new text. So at the moment, this text is undefined because we have not initiated the value. So let's go ahead and initiate the text with an empty value. Right, I is now 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When I is 10, actually this loop gets terminated and this line gets executed. This is how we run a while loop. Imagine I is already 10. What would be the output? First, it will see whether I is less than 10. But I is already 10, so this condition is false. Then this while loop immediately terminates and it will show an empty text. Let's try that out. Right, nothing gets displayed. Imagine a scenario where we want to execute this text regardless of the value of I, but only one time, and from the second time onward we check the condition. In JavaScript, there is a way to do it. To do it, we have to specify the keyword, the term do here, and then at the end of the structure, we have to mention while, I less than 10. Now, I is now 10, right? This condition will not get satisfied. Let's try it. Right. Even I with the value 10, it executes one time. How about if we put the i's value to 9? Let's go through. Okay, now I is 9. It will come here. No matter regardless of i's value, it will execute this code, and here I will get 9 plus 1, that is 10. Now I is 10. It will come here. Okay, now I is 10. This is not getting fulfilled. I mean, this condition is false, so it will terminate. Let's try that out. Yes, I is now 9 and then gets incremented, then terminates. What if I is 8? It will run the statement anyway in the first run. So I is now 8 get populated to this text. And then when I is 9 also, it will happen. That's it. Let's try that out and see. Right, 8, 9 both. It's get concatenated to the text. So this is how we use the do while loop. All right, now we know many ways to implement a loop. We can use a for loop, we can do a while loop, and we can do a do while loop. Okay, in some instances, we want to break the loop even without violating, even without getting this iterator condition dissatisfied. Okay, let's open this file and see. Now we want to break a loop. Let's run this file first. Break. Let's close these things. Okay. All the names get displayed here. Saman, Amber, Sita, and Kumar. All of them. Let's see. Let's imagine that we want to break the loop whenever we encounter Amar. If the value is Amar, we want to break the loop at that point, and Sita and Kumara should not come. Or all the people who are after Amara will not come. So let's add this condition here. If names I equals, please note that there are two equal signs. In JavaScript, when we compare the values, we have to put two equal signs. If it is equal to Amar, then break. What will happen is this loop will run for the first time with I is equals 0. Then for the second time for I equals 1, that is for the Amar. And then comes here. At this point, it will break the for loop and go to the rest of the code. Let's try that out. Right, only Saman and Amara are there. What if we put Sita above Amara? Let's find that out. Right, even Sita is now coming. The last person that we see is Amara. Okay, sometimes we want to skip an element, skip one or more elements in a loop, but we don't want to break it. We just want to avoid executing a certain code for a particular value or some values. Let's open this file. And here also we have the same example that we use for the break. If you run it, so if we run it, it will show, okay, Saman Sita Amara. Saman Sita Amara, all get displayed. Saman Sita Amara gets displayed, but Kumara we can't see in the browser. So let's assume that we don't want to break the loop, but we want to skip one time when the name is Amara. Okay, for this example, I will put the continue. The keyword is continue. I will put the continue keyword here, right? What it does is, whenever it encounters this keyword, it will not execute the rest of the code inside the for loop. Then it will go back to this line and increment and then follows the same way. Let's try this out. Now you can see all the names are here. Can you think why? Why even Amara text is here? Because we continued in the Amara's case, right? But no, that's not the case, because at the point that we encounter this keyword here, we have already concatenated Amara's name. If you want to skip Amara from the list, what we have to do is we have to put the continue section before we are doing the concatenation. Like this. So here, whenever we encounter Amara, it will skip the rest of the code and will continue from the next iteration. Right. Now Amara is not there. And this is how we use the continue keyword. There is a variation of for loop called for in loop. Let's open this one and see what is this for in loop. In this example, we have this for loop that we have used in our previous example. What it does is, we'll save and see. It will show all the for names in a list. We can accomplish something similar by using for I in names. What happens is, this I will be the indices of this array. For example, first case, it will be 0. Second case, it will be 1, 2, and 3. Now here, if we put I, we should see I's value. Let's try that out. Right. Now we can see person 0, 1, 2, 3. What if we want to get the values of the array in this I's position? What we have to do is names I. If you refresh, again names come up. So in this case, we don't need to take the length of the array. And it's very easy because JavaScript automatically calculates the array's length, and only iterates through the elements of the array. So this is how we use for in loop. We have specified the JavaScript code inside the document. We call this kind of scripting as internal JavaScript. We can actually specify the script at the bottom of the page, like maybe before the body tag, or we can specify it inside the head section. Well, let's see what will happen if we run this code now, it will not show anything. Why? Because whenever document loads, this section gets executed. But we don't have this for in demo element specified when we run this code, when it's getting loaded. If we want to run this after document gets loaded, we have to use another technique. What we can use is document at event listener DOM content loaded function, and then we can execute our code. Right. Now let's try that out. Right. Again, now we can see the contents. What actually happens here is this document emits an event when DOM content loaded. So after loading all of this content and all the assets, this event gets emitted and we capture that event by listening to it, and only when this event happens, we execute this code. We can actually demonstrate that here. We will create another script tag here. Let's put a console log. Let's say in the body. And in the head section here, after this get triggered, is a program in the head. What text do you think gets written into the console first? Let's try that out. Let's open the console here, clear it and refresh. First program in the body text appears and then the head. That means this gets executed only after the documents loaded, after this text, after this script gets even executed. So now let's remove the console logs. Right. Now, this is how we can put internal JavaScript. One other way is to get this JavaScript code into an external file. Let's go here and create a directory called JS, stands for JavaScript, and create a file called myscript.js. Yes. And then paste the contents here. And save it. In the head section, let's create a script tag and mention the src attribute as JS myscript.js. Let's see what will happen. Yes, this code gets executed and all the array items are listed here. So if we comment out this script, they will not be shown. So this is how we integrate external JavaScript files into our program. What is the advantage of using external JavaScript? Okay, clearly the code is very compact because we do not have any JavaScript code inside the HTML file. and it is very clean. And there are other benefits. For example, the browsers cache these kind of assets, JavaScripts, and whenever we refresh the page, the browser no needs to go to the server and get the file from the server when we are using a remote server. So the load time would be fast. So what is the advantage of using internal JavaScript? The advantage is the browser does not need to retrieve another file from the server, because in the HTML itself, we have the script and one request call get reduced. And the browser does not need to make another request to get the my script. The general practice is to use external JavaScript for big libraries. And whenever you have small scripts, you can create them within your HTML page. One other way is to create one single file with all the small scripts and load it in the pages that we want the functionality. So it is actually the decision of the developer, your decision, whether to use it internally or use it as an external script file.